Hey everyone, welcome back to Go Speak, and I'm Phil.
I'm Ashley.
Today, we are going to talk about our wish list of what we want to see in Ghostbusters 4, the sequel to Ghostbusters Afterlife. Sony Pictures announced this a few days ago. They haven't announced production schedule or who's directing or casting or when the release date is going to be. Anything can happen this year, which is exciting.
What are your wish list items starting off?
So starting off, villain. I would like an original villain. Jason Reitman has teased that Vigo the Carpathian might make a return in future movies, but I don't want that to happen. I would like at least 2 original villains for 2 movies, and then we can probably go into Vigo again, because Jason Reitman has said, oh yeah, Vigo has that phrase, death is but a door, time is but a window, I'll be back.
With a new villain, you're introducing a new story.
Right.
You're finding out like what their strengths and weaknesses are, and like a new mythology to like, oh, here's this creepy villain ghost, I'm not sure what it would be, that comes out that you want to know like the backstory behind it. Them researching about it. Like, I feel like that was kind of the excitement also about the first Ghostbusters movie, was that you didn't really know a lot about like the history of Gozer. You didn't really know what it was, like what are they chasing, like what are these, terror dogs, and why are they possessing people. So I think that was part of the fun, and I loved Afterlife, but I feel like they kind of took that out a little bit, because you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, we already know the backstory.
We already know all that. So it'd be neat to introduce like a new mythology and villain and characters.
There's so many cultures as far as, the paranormal and ancient civilizations and what their rituals were.
I mean, if you think about it, the sky's the limit.
Yep.
I mean, they can really pull from, folklore that we have in our universe, or they can make up their own. I mean,
yeah.
To be honest with you, they could really even regurgitate something from the world of the cartoons, the animated series, and they probably would love to see those animated villains or creatures, being translating onto the screen and seeing like what they come up with now in modern technology and seeing it like come to life. I don't know, that'd be really neat, I think.
Different villain, original villain is my number 1. And number 2, well, what's your number 2?
My number 2, this might not be very popular, but I kind of want them to only really bring back McKenna Grace and Podcast.
Okay.
I kind of felt like they had a little bit more heart and gusto, but also having like, the older characters kind of like interject some things every once in a while, and setting them off on missions and giving them the equipment and showing them how to do it, teaching them the science. I think that would be fun to see.
I agree with you in some degree. I like Trevor and Lucky, but I want them to be a little bit more well-rounded if they're going to still use those characters in future movies. I know we've talked about this on our review, but I hope they cut down a little bit on the romance between those two. It kind of felt like a throwaway in a sense. I got the feels of, like a Lewis and Janine kind of love relationship that was kind of random, but it didn't really hold the plot at all. But I was more invested in Callie and Gruberson. And so I hope they focus more on that relationship, more so than Lucky and Trevor, because the Gruberson and Callie relationship reminded me of the Venkman and Dana relationship. I feel like Lucky is a strong enough independent person to want to stand her own ground and not have a relationship drag her down to new adventures, especially if they go back to New York City. I bet she would love to get away from Oklahoma and just kind of explore the city a little bit and maybe meet a new person, and Trevor gets jealous over that. I hope that they treat those characters like they did with Eduardo and Kylie in Extreme Ghostbusters, where this like love tension between the two, but they don't go all the way. I don't know. That's just kind of what I hope they do with those characters.
I just hope that they don't saturate the story with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm talking like very small parts. It doesn't affect like the work when they're doing ghost busting investigations or whatever they're going to do. So I hope they handle it that way and focus more on the love story between Gruberson and Callie.
Segueing into the next wish list item for me, at least, is as you had mentioned, I want it to be in a city this time.
Yep. I feel like Ghostbusters in New York just go hand in hand. New Yorkers have that dry sense of humor, which drives the Ghostbuster humor like through and through.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope they incorporate New York City more because the first two movies were definitely a love letter to the city. And I hope they get a good mayor this round because David Margulies was just a master of playing Lenny, and I hope they get a good mayor this round if they see the mayor.
Yeah, the New York attitude just adds like another sense of humor, and just the people in the city, like the interactions like with the ghosts, like going through the subways or with the taxi cab drivers, or
not giving
going through the store. It's just like another day in New York.
Yeah, I know.
Or,
they don't care. It's just like this New York attitude. I love it. I've been wondering about how they're going to deal with these characters, the younger ones, I should say. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. Maybe kind of like a one summer in New York kind of thing to build up the franchise again, especially with Winston at the helm with his money. I think they can improve the technology, get the rust off of the proton packs and really polish them up, and I'm sure Phoebe would bring something new to the table with the equipment now that Spengler's ghost kind of taught her the ropes a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like that would be probably like a montage that they would do to kind of like
montage.
Yeah, to kind of like bring everything, back up to code. And of course there would be probably someone that has a problem with that, and that would be some resistance.
Probably someone in the government that was around when the Ghostbusters were in full force, and they remember like they damaged all this property. And another one, less fan service. I know Ghostbusters Afterlife was a huge love letter to the fans, and I gladly accepted it. But for the next movies, none of that. I'm completely fine with just Afterlife being the fan service movie, and that'd be the end of it. I don't need to see Twinkies everywhere. I don't need to see Crunch Bars in the background or who you gonna call kind of stuff.
I loved seeing a lot of those little things that harken back, to the original Ghostbusters. But in some ways, like, when you watch it over and over again, you're like, wow, that really was overkill. Like, they really didn't have to show that Crunch Bar.
Yeah, that's one of the big ones for me, is I hope they don't do a whole lot of fan service for these upcoming movies and just make it their own.
I mean, it would be neat just to be within that Ghostbusters universe and just kind of make it a clean slate. Although, like I said before, I do want to see the OG Ghostbusters, but they don't have to like saturate the movie. Although I would love to see Louis Tully. I'm sure you mentioned that earlier. But I would love to see Louis Tully in like some capacity, like maybe he is the accountant for Winston, or
like I still want to see Louis, Janine, Bill, Danny, Ernie, all of them, Dana, just all of them if they can, just like for brief moments at least, because we love them and we hope these characters the best, and we want them to be as interactive as possible. But I also hope that the new characters can keep this franchise going, because unfortunately with the passing of Ivan Reitman recently, we don't know how long we're going to have these great actors and actresses with us. We got to utilize them while we can. I really hope they are with the franchise as long as possible. Since we're on the topic of the old and new Ghostbusters, I hope the new team takes the comedic stylings of Second City a little bit more in their ethos a little bit. I gave them a pass because, you know, they're kids and all that, but as soon as they grow older, there's a little bit more expectancy of their performances as they get into the meat of their characters and the franchise story.
I mean, think about it. Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Harold Ramis. I mean, they're all established actors. They're all already funny. They've already been...
Yeah, came up through Second City.
Yeah, they've already been in pretty funny movies before then. You know, we all knew that when we went to go see the movie. This one, I mean, they were funny kids.
Yeah.
But they were not them. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Which is really unfair to compare.
Oh yeah. It is really unfair for me to compare that. You know, comedy legends versus, you know, up and coming stars. The whole drive of the franchise itself as a fan is the comedy and the stylings of that comedy of the Second City comedy troupe and the yes and comedy stylings of improv. And so that's kind of where I was going with that, as far as hopefully the younger generation of this team will grow in their own and their comedic stylings of Second City.
Yeah.
So that's my hope, and that's my kind of wish list item. Yeah, I feel terrible saying that kind of stuff, but that's the expectation with this franchise.
No.
Hey everyone, Editor Phil here. I wanted to say a few more things we forgot to say, and they're really quick. One, Rob Simonson's score for Afterlife was awesome. It paid a wonderful tribute to Elmer Bernstein and how he kept that score alive through this next generation of Ghostbusters. I certainly hope they continue to do that. Two, bring back Slimer for like a brief cameo, which would be fun. And three, I hope they bring back the traditional Ghostbuster opening, which is where they have the good scare at the beginning of the film, and then they bring up the Ghostbuster theme song by Ray Parker Jr. and have the No Ghost logo forming and all that fun stuff. But those are the three that we forgot to say. So back to the vlog. The last item on our wish list, I would like to know more about Callie and her background. That's kind of the big one. You don't have to go deep into her backstory. Just give me something like what happened with Egon before the original movie. So a little bit more clarification on what happened with Egon and his past, and Callie and their relationship a little bit more, and maybe the mom. Yeah, that'll be cool to figure out who she is. There was just a lot of questions unanswered in Afterlife, so I hope they answer them in this movie or even future movies. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't bother me as much, but it is kind of a big question mark that you kind of leave the movie going like, well, wait a minute. You know, here's this OG character that we never knew that he had this family, and it took place during the original movies. So it is a big question mark. But I just want to know, who are they? Who was Egon with? I don't know.
Yeah, so those are the big ones for us. Let us know down below in the comments what you are expecting in the next movie and future movies, hopefully. This is a really exciting time to be a Ghostbuster fan. We got a new movie announcement. We got video games coming up that's really cool. And there might be more stuff down the line, so we'll have to stay tuned, and hopefully new cartoon series or live action series. The future looks bright for the Ghostbusters, so it's really awesome to be part of this. All right, well, that about does it. Well, that about does it.
See y'all.
Well, that about wraps it up for us. We thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and join in the conversation below and let us know what you want to see in the new movies coming up. And like and subscribe and all that fun stuff for future videos. And we'll catch you on the flip side. Keep on busting, people.